So when we're looking at the number of changes that has happened with the CFA Level 1 2024 curriculum, there are certain portions which have been categorized as prerequisites. What do you understand by prerequisite material? There are certain chapters which will not be tested in the exam. So there will be no questions which will be asked from that portion directly on the exam, right? So exam mein wo questions nahi aayega. There will be no question on the prerequisite material in the exam. Now, why do you need the prerequisite, or why would you need to study? For example, there is a term like bond equivalent yield. So bond equivalent yield, I'm not saying that has been put in prerequisite, I'm just taking an example. So, or say for example, present value and future value. Now present value, future value calculation has been put in prerequisite, does not mean that you do not need to use the PV or FV when you are looking at fixed income subject or derivatives or any other subject. So therefore, with regards to study part, yes, you'll have to study the entire prerequisite portion. Yes, if you're finding a topic like demand and supply in the prerequisite, you do not want to study demand and supply because you are very, very confident and comfortable. Let's say you are from economics honors background and you've completed that. So in that case, you may skip this, but then please understand that there will be another chapter in maybe the equity subject where we are going to talk about that the demand is going to go up, or this is the market, so therefore elasticity will be high or low. So you have to know the term elasticity to understand another chapter in equity. So the concepts are going to be required. The institute is assuming that you know these concepts. So if you do not know these concepts, you'll have to attend the lecture, you'll have to understand these concepts, otherwise you'll not be able to apply them in the other subjects. We do not want to understand, we do not want to test you on demand and supply because we want to test you on finance. So we want to test you on the application of demand and supply, to give you an example, right? Now when we're looking at the practice bit, of course you do not have to practice the entire thing because it will not be turning up in the exam. Now you do not need to worry about the practice bit because it will not be tested in the exam. So we will take a call depending on the chapter and depending on your understanding. If you're very confident with the concepts, you may skip the practice. If you do not have too much time for the exam and you're preparing in a shorter duration, then you may skip the practice. If the topic may not be that important in terms of applying it in different chapters, then you may skip the practice. But overall, we are not supposed to be skipping practice as such, but we can take the practice quite lightly for the prerequisite portion only. But with individual chapters, I'll inform that with this chapter, this is very important or this will be applied over here. If there is any doubt with respect to concepts, if you think that practice is going to make it better, then you do the practice. Practice questions are provided by the institute even for the prerequisite chapters. So institute is providing practice for the chapters which are prerequisite material. Now with respect to the class and the lectures, obviously every single chapter, every single LOS, if they are defining it that way, every single portion of the prerequisite chapter is also going to be completed in class. So you don't have to worry about it. Every single portion of the prerequisite material will also be there. Whether to attend or not attend the lectures, again, as I told you, if you're extremely confident that I know this concept of economics or I have done statistics honors, so therefore I don't need to see this particular part of quants where I understand mean median mode very, very well, and I do not even need to understand the concept of mean median mode. Knowing the formula is not enough because we need to understand how to apply it. Of course, we are going to see how to apply AMGM, arithmetic mean, geometric mean in finance. So that will come in the core quants part, which is testable. The prerequisite part might just be talking about how to calculate a mean median mode, let's say, right? So if you're so confident, then you may skip the lecture, but my advice is to always attend the lecture. Attend maybe at a faster speed and maybe with a lot of concentration so that you do not have to study or give time while you are studying that chapter. So my advice would be that attend the lecture and go very quick with the studying portion if you are confident with the concept. But attending the lecture, I would say you should, because even when I'm teaching the basic concepts, I'm looking at it from a finance perspective. So I'm not teaching economics or maths from a maths or economic subject point of view. I'm teaching it from a finance point of view. So my recommendation would be definitely 100% attend. The order. Now, I'm not going to be teaching prerequisites separately altogether and then the core curriculum separately altogether. So if I'm looking at an arithmetic mean, geometric mean, let's say, and it's there as a prerequisite also, and it is there in the core material also, wherein you're looking at the application of AMGM, I'm going to do AMGM one after the other. I will make sure that I'm going to Mark it in your lectures, in your lecture guide or whatever. I'm going to mark that this lecture or this topic is prerequisite, this is not. Because I cannot teach AMGM once separately and once again separately after with a 1 month gap. And when you are studying, you're supposed to go through, okay, AMGM, do I know the concept? Yes, skip the lecture, move to the next one, the application part. If I do not know the prerequisite, then do the prerequisite and then the next part. So your flow cannot break, your way of studying, your flow, your order in terms of subject. I cannot do hypothesis half separately and half separately. It's there in both prerequisite and in the core material. So yes, if I know the basics of hypothesis so well, given that I have done stats honors, let's say, so in that case, I might want to skip. But my sincere advice even then is that you do the lecture at a faster pace. And then you decide with your concepts that do you need to practice too much? Do you need to take a lot of time to study that topic or not? That you decide. Because I've seen even commerce students when I'm looking at financial reporting analysis or financial statement analysis subject. So even then I'm seeing making the basic mistakes. Like one question that I start generally my class with is that why is loss debited? When you're debiting an asset, when you're debiting a receivable, why do you debit a loss? That is for the commerce students I ask. We don't have debit credit, but that's how I start. So you may not have understood the concept even though you might have studied something in school or college. So it's better to do the lecture. That is my opinion. Reference book, most of the portion you may not need to refer anything, but with every lecture and every topic will mention that whether to refer to a Schweizer or an institute material or the notes is sufficient or what I've done in class is sufficient, whatever you scribble that is enough, that will be mentioned. But mostly either it's going to be lecture or it is going to be Schweizer. But that will be mentioned with each of the lectures, so you don't have to worry. Prerequisite is available in only 3 subjects. You do not have prerequisite in any other subject. So it's only quants, economics and FRA, right? So you're clear about the prerequisite part, the material part. Next, when you're looking at the subjects, so we have quants. So these are the prerequisite material. There will be no questions on this in the exam, but I can apply any of these concepts, assuming you know this very well, in any of the chapters over here or even in another subject. So I might want to apply hypothesis, like in level 3, I know in a selecting manager, there is a hypothesis question in level 3. I will not, you can't say that, that was a prerequisite, not a testable area in the exam, so I don't care about level 3. I will check hypothesis in the level 3 exam also. So the prerequisite is something that you have to know. Even in level 2 core quants, hypothesis will be used. So you can't say that I don't need to know the basics of hypothesis, because questions will not directly come from these areas in the exam. But just I can apply a probability concept in a finance space and then ask you a question which is there. So a lot of subjects you'll see interest rate, PVFE, there is a rate and rate returns. Of course, when I'm teaching PVFE, I'm not going to discuss about negative interest rate. But when I'm doing the chapter rates and returns, I will discuss a sum on negative interest rate also, because there is an application in finance for that. But without knowing PVFE, I cannot do this. And I cannot say that I'm going to teach interest rate, PVFE, organizing, hypothesis, and then again I will start with the discounting of negative rates. So I'm going to teach these together. So this for me is going to be together, because PVFE is a part of time value of money. But yes, when I'm going to do the topics, when I'm going to do the lectures, it will be marked that, okay, say for example, I have 10 lectures in time value of money. This is a prerequisite, not a prerequisite, not a prerequisite. This is LOS this is LOS this. I'll mark that. Then this is again a prerequisite, then again this is LOS this, LOS this. So the ones with the LOS, the ones with this will be testable in the exam. The prerequisite portion, you may not do, but my sincere recommendation is make sure you do every single lecture. After doing the lecture, you decide whether I want to take a lot of time to study, learn, etc. Do I need to practice a lot, or I'm pretty comfortable, let me move forward. That leeway you'll have. But my opinion, lecture, do not skip at all. Right? So this is how the entire curriculum has been done with regards to the prerequisite part. I've discussed the syllabus separately, but this is the prerequisite portion. So I'm doing probability over here. I'm going to calculate something called expected value over here. And then in portfolio maths, I will calculate the expected return. So if I don't know expected value, I do not know portfolio return. But I can't do expected value, then hypothesis, then again come back to expected return of portfolio. I will do one after the other. You will have clarity that this is prerequisite, this is not. But the order will be in this way. This is how we are supposed to be studying. So sampling is over here, and again sampling estimation portion is over here. So central limit theorem will be inside this. Some portion of hypothesis is here, some portion of hypothesis is here. So this is how it is with respect to quants. With respect to economics, demand and supply is not there. But when I'm looking at firm and market structures, monopoly, oligopoly and all, that is there in the core curriculum also. So there will be some level of economics level understanding here, and maybe over here how the industry works, supernormal profit, because that will tell you about how the valuation of that particular company is supposed to be. So whether a company is in an oligopoly like a telecom sector in India right now. So depending on those applications, maybe there will be something extra. And it is possible that let's say if you're looking at your 2023 curriculum with regards to prerequisite, it is possible that the 2023 chapter, some portion goes here and some portion comes here. So that mapping, everything, etc. will be there. So you don't have to worry. But this is how the prerequisite will be covered. So geopolitics is not over here, but international trade is over here as well. There is some more addition in terms of capital flows, because of course our markets react to how the foreign inflows are coming, or there is an outflow, foreign outflow happening. So that way we are going to be looking at this over here, right? Currencies over here, but that does not mean you are going to be using entire chapter in level 2 currency and in level 3 currency chapter also. I have to revise level 1 currency in level 2 and 3. So you can't say that I don't need to know about the prerequisite, or I do not need to understand bid-ask spread, etc., whatever is there in the chapter, right? And even when you're looking at financial statement analysis, so basics of what is a journal, what is a PL account, balance sheet, etc. You don't have to make accounts. We know that. We need to be able to analyze and understand accounts. So there will be some portion over here, some portion over here. So maybe I'll talk about what is balance sheet, PL, etc. over here. And I'll talk about, let's say, how to analyze, con call is important for analysis, etc. over here. So income statement, balance sheet is there in both core material and the prerequisite. This is prerequisite. Cash flow statement is there. Analyzing cash flow statement 1 and 2 is there. So it's good in a way that there is more depth in these chapters. So I think there is quite a few additions being done when we have prerequisite introduced in the syllabus. So you do not have the pressure of practicing this part. You do not have the pressure of testability on this part in the exam. But then there will be more depth and more analytical questions will come in. So I don't see the institute's difficulty level increasing, decreasing. I've anyways discussed that in a separate lecture already. So I don't see the difficulty level that way, but yes, there is going to be more depth, and the questions will be from more relevant areas as compared to before, more application oriented questions in finance than a direct question from economics or a quants. So that is what we are going to be looking at. So there are going to be overlap, inventories here, inventories here. So maybe how to calculate LIFO, FIFO will be here, but analyzing LIFO reserve, analyzing increase or decrease in inflation levels and impact on PL account, maybe I'll do that over here. But I cannot teach you LIFO, FIFO separately and then do income tax and liability and again come on analysis of change in prices on inventory. I'm going to do these together. But as I told you, I'll tell you that this part is prerequisite, this part is not. So that will be there. But there will be portions which will be done parallelly together. You do not have Q&A in the exam over here. But even when I'm looking at inventory asset liability chapter, there is an analysis chapter in level 2 FRA, which will use all these concepts. So you can't say that it is not important and I don't need to bother about it. So don't try to get those shortcuts right now in level 1, because not only your level 1 but level 2's passing probability will get impacted if you try to take shortcuts right now. So sincere recommendation, every single lecture has to be done, whether it is prerequisite or not. Every single lecture of prerequisite, every single topic of prerequisite is 100% going to be covered, right? And yes, you can take a little bit of judgment call with regards to the amount of practice and the amount of learning you want to do. But understanding, there cannot be any compromise. Got this? This is about your prerequisite 2024 CFA Level 1.